Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. Hope you guys been enjoying the content channel as of late. It's starting to get a little dark here, so apologies if the lighting might change here and there. I'm gonna be recording this video, and then I plan to record another video afterwards. So if you notice that I'm still in the same get up and stuff like that, or just same shirt, whatever, I'm just recording another video after this. But I want to talk more about Supergirl, because Supergirl came out this weekend, and I did a review for it, along with my thoughts on Jackass. So if you guys want to check out those reviews are now out. But I think it's worth talking about Supergirl a little bit more, because it's worse than I think even people were expecting. The film has now, come out, and it's had its global debut, and we are now getting numbers, and it is rough. It is very, very rough. The film has made so far, collectively, as a whole, as a global launch, around $68 million, and that is not taking into account theatrical distribution, which means that the company doesn't even make all that money. They make maybe about half of that money. So really, in terms of what's going back to the studio, the film was made about $30 million. And we are talking of a production of at least $170 million, and potentially a marketing push of $100 million, because I heard that DC pushed a lot towards marketing for this film specifically. So almost a damn near $300 million investment, and you're opening to $68 million, and your return is looking at so far $30 million. This is all around a monumental failure. I mean, it's not sugarcoating it at this point. It is a monumental failure. Just to put it in perspective for you, The Flash, right, which was also a big flop, that at least broke out to triple digits. Globally, it made about at least 130 or something, as far as I remember. The Marvels, which was also another big flop, that also opened to at least 100 million. So it's worse than that. Now, there has been worse, obviously. There was Kraven the Hunter. I did some look into stuff, and Kraven the Hunter actually performed even worse. I think it was like something crazy, like 13 or 14 million globally. So there has been worse. But it's to illustrate that this film is failing, and it is going to be shaping to be a huge flop for the company. And we knew, kind of going into this, that this film was going to have some trouble. We knew that, it wasn't going to break out to be triple digits. So it was all around, the writing was on the wall, I think, for a few weeks too, because we've been hearing reports about stuff that was happening behind the scenes, and it seems as though some of those reportings have come to light to actually be true. We've learned that, at least I just learned yesterday upon reading some stuff that, and this is going to get into a little bit of a spoiler territory also, so just FYI. But we learned that the final battle, a specific song that plays, which I felt was very out of place personally, that was handpicked by James Gunn. We also learned that the actual ending to the film, the one with Superman and Supergirl at the end, that was apparently supposed to be a post-credit scene, not the actual ending. So there's been some legitimacies to certain reportings about multiple endings and certain things happening with test screenings. It seems though some legitimacies have been coming out of that. So it seems those film has always been troubled. And my personal opinion on Supergirl was that I feel that the structure of the film was really its big downfall, and what really brought it down for me, and what kind of amounted to something of a mess. Not necessarily a terrible film, but definitely flawed and definitely problematic. So I figured, because I also have read the comic that this film is based on, and they do, I've seen some people saying like, oh, well, it's only based off of it. That doesn't mean they have to be strict about it. Very true. But at the same time, they were advertising and pushing quite a bit that this was based off of that specific comic. So There's like, some things there, at least in terms of loyalties to adapting source material that, at least in my opinion anyway, the film mostly uses it as a background element, or using just the basic plot points, from getting to point A to point B, but not understanding the essence of what that comic was trying to get at. But even then, I have issues with the comic personally. But so I figured, at least for me, because I just took some time to actually think about how do you make this work? How do you make this film not only work financially, but also narratively? Because I just personally feel really bad for everybody involved in this. The actress, and just the people behind this. It's just really, really, sad to see, where this film is at, and also, frankly, where the DC universe is right now, because things are just struggling. I know some people will bring up Superman, saying that, that's worked out for them, but really, it's not. Superman, financially speaking, came up short. And I'm not Man of Tomorrow. I don't even know how that will perform. I mean, we'll see. Clayface, I actually believe, will be the first solid success from the DC universe, whereas Man of Tomorrow, I have my issues with. But that's a whole other video, and I'll leave the link to it at the end of this video, where I talked about the struggles that this universe has currently been having. But talking squarely about Supergirl, how do we fix this film? Is it possible to fix it? And I think the answer is yes. I think that there is a way to make this film work, but there are a couple things that I would change. Some big changes, and then some minor ones. So this is how I would fix Supergirl. This is how I would fix the film. This is how I would make the film work. And so we're just gonna get into it. So it's really 4 things. The last one is the big thing, but the first 3 are major, but it's just looking at it from top to bottom, everything that I feel needs to be removed or altered. This is just my opinion. So first things first, I know some people may not be happy about it, but that's just my personal opinion on it. I think we need to recast the role. I think that we needed to recast the title character, and we also need to recast Ruth, because I feel that the juxtaposition between Supergirl and Ruth in this movie is not there. The idea of someone being older and then shepherding in a younger person, taking them on a journey, and that younger person learns things from the older person. We've seen that many, many times, specifically in the comic book realm. We've seen that a couple times in comics and in the film. We saw, with like films like Logan, video game realms like The Last of Us. That sort of fatherly son or fatherly daughter, or just older figure, younger figure dynamic, we've seen many, many times. And that juxtaposition between someone who's older and younger creates for a certain dynamic. So when you have, an actress like Millie Alcock, who is like 26, and Ruth, who I think is like close to like 16 or 17, there isn't that much of a gap, between the two. And the ages themselves also don't lend themselves to being, for Supergirl to be seen as that, older and wiser, or in some way cynical figure. I think that the proper age that they should have gone for, especially knowing what the comic was, I think they needed to get an actress who was in their early 30s. So that's who I would approach it for. Get an actress who's in their early 30s, and then as for Ruth, get an actress who's in their early 20s. So that's how I would make that, at least in terms of the juxtaposition. The second thing I would do, I'd get rid of Lobo. I don't think that Lobo had any reason to be in the story. I think he's just kind of there, just to, in one way, just to give the film I wouldn't say celebrity endorsement, but just to put a certain face to sell tickets. I know that the actor Jason Momoa has, lobbying for the role for some time, so I think it's just more like a coincidence at that point. Like, oh, we need someone to sell this movie. Get Jason Momoa. Hey, he wants to be a Lobo. Great, we'll put you in this movie. But as a function in terms of why he's there, he has no purpose. He has no reason to be in the story. So I would get rid of Lobo. I don't think you need him. So the third thing I would do, and I think that really was a detriment to this film, is push the release date. And specifically, I would push it for a spring release. I would not do a summer release. I would not do a winter or fall release, because a lot of big tentpoles and a lot of like juicy, tentpoles, films that more than like they're guaranteed to get a return on investment, they're gonna push for those specific seasons. The spring is usually, it's fresh, and usually there's not a lot of competition in that time until you start getting into like April and May, once we get closer to the summer season. For something like Supergirl, that is not as popular as Superman, and the whole, marketing campaign surrounding Supergirl is already going to be tough because of the essence of Supergirl, what the origin of why she was created, at least as far as I know, basically being that of a female version of Superman. Yeah, she is very different in many ways, as the character Kara is, but by design, she is essentially that of a female Superman, right? So it's going to be hard to market that. So to give her as much room as possible, right, and as much eyes on her as possible, I would push for a spring release to avoid massive competition, as this film has unfortunately met with. We have Toy Story 5 that came out last weekend, and then this upcoming weekend we have Minions. So it was being put in a position where it was just not going to benefit really strongly. So I would push for a spring release, somewhere around like February or March, somewhere around that window I feel would be prime, a little bit more suitable for Supergirl. Look at Clayface. Clayface is coming out in October, and I think that is a perfect release for Clayface. Horror film, specifically body horror, in the month of October, Halloween. It's a really, really strong window for that. And the last thing, which is what the bulk of this video is going to be about, is reorganize the plot. My biggest issue with the film, as I stated, is the structure of the story. I just believe that the way that they had told the story, fundamentally, I believe is just flawed, jarring, and, especially with the edit. I just remembering specific scenes where we cut from one scene to the other, or within certain scenes, how they choose to cut things. You can tell that it's being reworked. It's not feeling like cohesive, or, oh, this is how it was intended to be. It's like a whooshing sound or a weird sound, and then bam, here we are at this scene. And it's like, and it just, I get in the technical front why you would do such a thing, but in the way of how it weaves into that story and how certain things are moving, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And literally what it is we're cutting into, it's just like, it doesn't really amount to much. But here's how I would reorganize the plot. I'm just going to list out, basically how I would want the story to go. There's a little things here and there that I would add, but ultimately this is how I would make the plot move. So here's how my structure would be. So the very, very first thing that I would present in the story, right, because the very first thing that we see is Supergirl drunk. Basically the teaser trailer, with Crypto peeing on the newspaper and Kara waking up all hungover and stuff like that. I would save that later. The first scene that I would do is as it was in the comic. I would have Ruth's parents be murdered by, Krim, and a young version of Ruth bear witnessing it. So this would be Ruth who's maybe 12 or 13 years old. So not the Ruth that we're going to know who's been in her 20s. So a little bit younger. But that's how I'd start the story, is with that. And then the second part, the next scene we would have, is introducing Kara and having her be a drunk, having her just going from planet to planet with Crypto. And amidst doing all this stuff, amidst her, getting drunk and doing all this stuff, I would have little flashes of what happens to her at Argo City, of her time, being raised in Argo City. I would have little flashes of that, and having Kara, kind of fall back a little bit, being like, oh my god. And then she just starts to, become more involved with, her alcohol and, drinking habits, and all that just more intensified. Kind of giving you a hint as to what it is that is going on with her, suggesting, something that happened in her past and why she is the way she is, And then I would have Superman, call her in. This is where I would have Superman introduced, because I feel having Superman in the project or in the story is understandable, given, the relationship that they have kind of set up already in the first Superman movie, of Superman, James Gunn Superman. Then this is an opportunity to expand upon that, get you to understand the relationship now, and then we'll, talk a little bit more later as to, adding in certain scenes that they showed in the movie. But the Zoom call thing that Superman has with Supergirl, this is where I would have that, to show that there is someone out there who does care about her and care about her safety and all that. So then we go to the scene at the bar where we have Supergirl trying to celebrate her 23rd birthday with Crypto, where she blows out that little drink thing that's on fire, and she just tries to salute, tries to like hope that this year is awesome and stuff like that, and she just does her thing. At that point, then we have an older Ruth, now in her early 20s, entering the bar, and Supergirl does what she does then, like she does in the movie. She tries to save her and everything, get her sword back, and Supergirl wanders off just like she does in the movie. We have her, we then cut to my bad, I got ahead of myself. We then cut to the scene where Supergirl arrives on Earth. Superman opens up the pod, and that whole scene plays out, and then Supergirl wakes up, and that's when Ruth arrives to the ship, and Supergirl answers. She's hungover, and Ruth's trying to ask for help, and that's when Krim arrives and shoots down Crypto. Now when we get to Crypto, right, I would still have the same thing happen. We take Crypto to a doctor and we find out that he has 3 days. I know that the comic was a few months, but I would do 3 days, because I don't like how they ended up with the comic where Crypto, being alive all those months, and this journey is done for a very, very specific purpose. I just felt like that was just kind of just drawing things out, where I feel as though that point that Kara was trying to make could have been done a lot sooner and a lot more precise, rather than doing what she did. But yeah, I would have it be 3 days still. And when Supergirl looks at Crypto, right, like that moment when she's like kind of looking at him, and he's saying like, "You can't give up on me, you can't." I would have a small cut, just a small cut, of seeing Supergirl's mom, just for a brief moment. It's a little cut. We just see like a female figure, and then it cuts back. And this, we don't know exactly who that is. You might be able to piece it together, but you get an idea of the meaning for Crypto, the kind of bond and what Kara sees from Crypto. He is like the last relic to her past, right? And that's what something like that can also just intensify the idea that Crypto is that important to her, right? So then Supergirl and Ruth, they go off, to find Krim of the Yellow Hills, and afterwards, after they, board, the bus or whatever like that together, and they go off and explore, I would have another flashback occur, and this time we're again still on Earth, and this time Kara is trying to adjust to her place, on Earth. She's with Crypto, and they're just trying to figure things out, and she just finds herself becoming more isolated. She's not able to get out, and talk to people. She's more nervous, and she just also is just, given what she has gone through, right? It is just, it's very difficult for her to readjust. So she becomes a lot more isolated. So then we cut back to the present, and we have Kara and Ruth, looking for clues, of Krim's whereabouts. This is when they, go to that one bar and they talk to people there, other brigates, Krim's crew and stuff like that. And eventually, they find where Krim is going next. And eventually, a fight ensues, with other brigates and stuff like that. And Kara, tries to save everybody. And she is able to get everybody except for one. And that one person, dies at the hands of Krim. And the other thing I would do also, just to make clear, I would not make Krim very adamant about women. I mean, I from my memory of the comic, that is not something that occurs in the comics. That is just something I think the movie decided to do. Krim is just all about violence. All he cares about is anarchy and chaos, but it is not specifically, about female figures. It is just that he is just one of these like violent type of psychopaths. He gets pleasure from violence, right? So I wouldn't be so fixated on that part. If he has prisoners or whatever like that, like the movie did, it would be a diverse group of people, not specifically that of women. Just to just to not make it to where it is kind of clearly trying to make a certain message or a certain point. It just also feels a bit unnecessary to make it so exclusive. But in the midst of that fight, Kara loses someone, like what happens in the movie. And instead of Kara and Ruth having a falling out, what would happen here is that Ruth actually tries to comfort Kara. She tries to actually reason with Kara, trying to tell her, look, it's okay. It's like sometimes not everybody, like she doesn't get just so upset, like she does in the movie. I just feel like that was kind of an unnecessary banter. I would make it to where she's a little more mature. She still has her quest of revenge. That's what she wants to do, but she's more mature and she's not just reacting based on her emotions, right? So, but Kara is more sensitive to the idea of losing people and to, because of her past. And what happens then is I would have Kara do what she does. She flies off and she reaches the atmosphere and stuff like that. And at that moment, I would have two things occur at the same time. Because at the moment when Kara screams, right, where that silent scream happens, I would have two things happen simultaneously. I would have a shot of her, leaving Argo City, where she gets in that pod, and she sees that her father, to us would be a male figure, but you can put together that's probably her father. And she flies off, right, out of Argo City. And then after that shot, we would have a shot of her flying away from Earth. So it's just almost like this two of these things happening at the same time. And it represents a lost soul, somebody who does not feel that they belong, right? And they're trying to find their purpose. They're trying to find what it is to keep them grounded, because they've all for their whole life have never been ever to find something that binds her and keeps her intact. She's always been at odds and always having to deal with stuff, right? But she eventually comes back down, and she and Ruth continue their journey. Sorry, I actually fluffed up a little bit on the pitch, so I just want to kind of get the rest of it out just before I lose it. The part where we get to after Kara, lets out her scream and everything like that. What I actually meant to say was that after Kara and Ruth eventually, get to the next planet, between that time, right, when they get to the planet, the one with the yellow and the green sun, that is where I would want Kara to actually talk about her past and talk about, start to, talk about what happened on Argo City with Krypton. That's where I would allow for that, that time to be for her to explain her childhood and how she ended up on Earth. And then at that point, that's when I would arrive at the planet, and that's when, the green shading, shows, because I don't have an issue with this, because it's all to do with how you plan it out, right? So my version of things is that I would still have it be the green and yellow sun, but the green, does this what it does, shading, shows up, and Kara begins to fall apart. And then we get to this the cave scene in the movie. But before we get to that, like we do in the comics, we would present Ruth as a capable warrior, someone who's able to defend herself, someone who's able to defend someone like Supergirl. She deals with creatures on this planet. Maybe they're like dinosaurs, like they were in the comics, which Angry Joe actually pointed out. Show that she's capable of dealing with things, and she's not just there, and Kara is the only thing that really can help her out, But we're in this cave, and then at that point, Kara explains to, as she is, fading, because of the green, intensifying the kryptonite, presenting that kryptonite to her, to her lungs and skin. I would have her at this point talk about why she hasn't returned to Earth for some time, and why is it that she hasn't been around Clark for a while. she explains that she doesn't think she's needed. She does not see a purpose for her on Earth, nor she see much of a purpose for herself, really. And that's why she also is not afraid of death. That's why she's also not afraid of all these other things. Basically making it so that we show how far this character has fallen. As much as she is doing what she is doing, she is still eternally struggling quite a bit. So that's when I would then have Ruth go get some water, like what happened in the movie, and get captured by Krim. So now she's left alone, and the yellow sun reappears like it does in the movie. And at that point, I would make it very frank. After we have now talked about Kara not feeling like she has purpose, we would cut to Clark. We would cut to her father back on Argo City, and they would talk to her about what it is that she should be doing. Being a good person, doing things because it's the right thing to do. Like Clark, maybe would tell her or something like that. And it instills into her a realization that her purpose has always been there. She's just never been one to tap into it and to really explore it. And her purpose is to protect people. And protect people not just because, but because they could be a threat to themselves, or people can be a threat to them. Her purpose is to protect people, purely because of not bringing harm to others, but also not bringing harm to themselves. It personalizes her purpose, and it grounds her, and it gets her to also get up. And it gets her to don that outfit, because kind of similar in the movie where she's like, I don't want to wear the outfit. This is where now that outfit makes it feel more powerful to her and more, understandable. So then she goes to Krim's ship. She tries to save Ruth, and this time I'd have the ship actually try to leave the atmosphere. I wouldn't do what they did in the movie where they just kind of were just hanging out. Like, no, just actually try to leave, because it then will make it more realistic. Like, okay, they know that she's here. They know about the effects of the green sun, so we're just gonna, take off, while things are happening to her. And by the time that we, get to where we need to go, Ruth will be taken care of, and then, Kara won't be able to really get to us for some time, But Kara eventually does. She gets to them, and she manages to stop the ship from leaving. And the final fight kind of plays out very similar. I wouldn't do the whole kryptonite arrows thing. Like, I felt like that was kind of a cheap thing. Kind of also took away from her in that fight, kind of giving Lobo more to do in the fight, really, than Kara did. But the whole fight, the whole reasoning behind the fight is not just to fight. It's not just to do what they did in the movie, which is to, in some ways, representing, kind of having a feminist, layering on top of, certain things. Not a bad thing, but I don't feel like it really amounted to much, as when it all was all said and done. I would personalize this fight. This is a fight where Supergirl is trying to save Ruth, not just from dying, but also from doing the killing. So, at the end of the fight, where we have Ruth about to kill Krim, I would have Kara convince Ruth to not avenge her parents, and instill to her about the whole idea of violence, the cycle of it, and how revenge only brings out more pain. And the only way to end the cycle is to break the cycle. And that sort of idea is very applicable to both characters, because both have gone through trauma. And maybe in this moment, there's a reflection between the two, realizing that, they both truly do have something to bond over. They truly do care for each other, because they also have, in many ways, like, it's a mirror effect to them, because they both have lost their parents. They both have gone through intense trauma. And they are, the only difference is just Kara never seeked out revenge. Kara never saw a purpose for that, because she also didn't see a purpose in herself. So, and I would not have Kara kill Krim. I felt like that was a really poor move for writing-wise. I just felt like that was a really poor move. But I would do what they did in the comics. Krim goes to the Phantom Zone. Maybe we established that early on, maybe it's something of a joke, maybe like Kara talks about, like, when we find him, we'll send him to the Phantom Zone, And Ruth's like, what the hell is the Phantom Zone? You know, and then the Phantom Zone shows up and she's like, oh, you weren't joking. That is a real thing, you know? Something to that effect. So then Kara and Ruth, you know, they're now bonding much more. And they decide to celebrate Kara's late birthday because she was, you know, I think I said in the video I was like 23. That was my bad. I was still thinking about the actual movie. I'm thinking more in her, you know, let's say like 32, right? 32 or 33. She's celebrating that birthday. And she celebrates it with Ruth. And they go off and have a good time. She, you know, maybe she still likes to drink, you know, whatever, stuff like that. Certain traits don't automatically go away, you know? Certain things here and there still retain certain characteristics. But then eventually they go their separate ways. And Kara returns to Earth. I would still have the same ending occur, little adjustments here and there, but ultimately it is Kara returning to Earth, and he speaks to Clark and he tells him, look, I know that I've been away, but I'm now going to stay because I now know why I need to be here and why I believe I have a purpose here. And her purpose, as I said, lies in protecting other people, not just from harming others, but also harming themselves. So that's what I would personally do with Supergirl. That's my pitch. I think to me anyway, I think that would make things a lot more cohesive. It has a through line, because my problem with the film itself is that there really isn't a through line. There's ideas, but there's no secure, like, this is what the movie is about sort of deal. It's just, here's some ideas, and then at the end of it, you're like, I don't really know what it was about, you know? Some ideas here and there about loneliness, or about belonging, or about trauma and the cycle of violence. All that is interesting stuff, but it doesn't feed into a certain conceit. I feel like with this sort of pitch, you know, I feel like it kind of it solidifies an idea. You know, it solidifies an idea of sorts about the effects of trauma. You know, about responsibility, about a purpose, looking for a purpose. You know, I feel like this kind of gets there. But you guys, let me know. How do you guys feel about this pitch for Supergirl? You know, I would change the actresses. That's just me. I would get rid of Lobo. I feel like a spring release is more better for this, and I also would do what I just did with the story. So you guys, let me know. How do you guys feel about this pitch? Do you guys feel differently? Do you guys feel like the movie itself was good? Let me know your thoughts on the film. If you guys have read the comic, let me know how you feel about there also. And yeah, let me know all your thoughts in the comment section below. And that's gonna be it for this video, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. And until then, I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.